Okay, now you've connected everything up, what we're going to do is quickly show you the program we wrote before the last video. The last video was the one where you've connected everything up. Hopefully you've done that all correct. You've done the test so that you can see that everything's working okay, which was the last part of that video where you actually saw the green light flash on and off. That was the Blink 11 program. So you've ran that. Now all we have to do is pull in the virtual traffic lights. What I've done is I've put the board up against the computer monitor so you can see what you should see. You should see that the LEDs and the costume displays of the lamps, the virtual lamps, are in sync. So if we run that, we'd be able to see that happening. So let's go and have a look at that. So this is the video that I've produced with the breadboard held up against the monitor so you can see that they are in sync. So first of all I started it. There you go. So the red's on, the yellow's on, the green's on, and notice that they're both in sync. Yellow, red, yellow, green, and both the screen and the LED lamps are on at the same time. So that's the nice thing about this. Because of the way we've programmed it, we know they're going to come on at the same time, and it's a nice check. It means we can write programs to light LEDs without actually connecting up to an LED until right at the end. So we don't care we don't have to have the thing connected all the time. I've just speeded up now just to see what it looks like speeded up. So I mean, you wouldn't run it like that, but it's an interesting effect. So yeah, so that's it really. Now what I've done is in this video I'm just going to give you the tutorial as well. There's a couple of tutorials for this. What I'd like you to do is, looking at this grid here, I'd like you to emulate that sequence. So you see there's lamps will all be off and then the green lamp will be on. Notice the yellows are all in the same column, and the reds are all in the same column, and the greens are all in the same column. It's just like the traffic lights really, but I've just laid them out horizontally instead of vertically. So this is a sequence. You're only going to be showing 3 at a time. All I'm showing you here is the sequence. You can do that, that'd be great. If you don't want to do this particular sequence and you've got a more interesting sequence, or you want to play around, then do another sequence. Experiment with timing gaps between them. Just play around with that, and you'll find that quite interesting thing to do. Second tutorial I'd like you to do is, when we look at the code, what might be nice is if you can write some code that basically, you know, the sensing modules where you can sense for a mouse down or a mouse up. What I'd like you to do is use the mouse down controls that we've seen before. Do you remember we did that with the propeller where we put the mouse down? See if you can do something like this with the lamps, so that you can press the up arrow, which will make the sequence of the lamps go faster, or press the down arrow, which will make the sequence of the lamps go slower. So that's the second tutorial. You need to spend about 5 minutes on that one, and 5 minutes on your own sequence, or the sequence I gave you in that last image. So that's the 2 tutorials. So it's produce a sequence, a nice interesting sequence, and then add some code to activate the up and down arrow, or you can activate it on the mouse and the space bar. It's up to you. It doesn't really, actually, none of these tutorials are fixed in stone. You can adapt them or change them any way you want. This is just to get you thinking about how to do things, and then when you've got something interesting that you've discovered, you can share it with everybody else. So it's kind of fun to be able to share what you've learned. It's a nice feeling. If you can come up with something original, then even better, you know, just make it more interesting for everybody else. So that's your 2 tutorials for this. The next section we're going to go through is a motor. Now you're not going to have a motor with you, but we're going to do a similar thing that we did with this virtual traffic lights. What we're going to do is produce a virtual motor, and then I'll have a motor in the class, a real motor, and we can take your virtual program from your micro SD card, plug it into my Raspberry Pi that I'll have in the class, and we can see how well your motor runs on a real motor as opposed to the simulated motor, which I'm going to show you in the next section. That's going to be good. It means you don't need a motor with you at the moment. In fact, unless you know how to connect the motor up, then it's not something I can cover in this course because it's a little bit more advanced. But when you come to the class, I'll be able to show you exactly, and there's no harm in you taking a motor away, and I'll explain how you can get these motors. That's quite an interesting story in itself. So we'll see you on the next section.